Welcome to our lesson on Blues Essentials, understanding major triads and dominant seventh chords. This lesson is a fundamental step in your journey to mastering blues guitar, where we'll introduce and explore two essential musical constructs, the major triad and the dominant seventh chord. Here are the lesson objectives. The major triad, the most basic and fundamental of all chords, serves as the foundation upon which other complex chords are built. We'll delve into its structure and understand how to construct one from any root note. Moving forward, we'll focus on the dominant seventh chord. Renowned for its bluesy sound, the dominant seventh chord is a staple in blues music, used extensively to give the genre its distinctive emotive and resonant quality. We'll learn how to build a dominant seventh chord from a major triad and identify its shape on the fretboard. It's important to note that while we're dealing with foundational concepts vital to the blues genre, we won't be tackling blues chord progressions in this lesson. That's a complex and exciting topic that deserves its own space, which we'll cover in a future lesson. So grab your guitar and prepare to venture deeper into the world of blues. Let's get started. Let's begin by discussing major triads. A major triad is the simplest type of chord, comprising three notes: the root, a major third, and a perfect fifth. The root note is the fundamental note on which the chord is built. In a C major triad, for example, the root note would be C. The major third is the note that's 4 half steps, or 2 whole steps, above the root. If we start with our root note C, a major third above C is E. Finally, the perfect fifth is the note 7 half steps above the root. From C, the perfect fifth is G. So, a C major triad is comprised of the notes C, E, and G. Let's put this into practice with a different root note. Say we want to build a major triad starting on G. The root note is G. 4 half steps above G gives us the major third, which is B. 7 half steps above G gives us the perfect fifth, which is D. So, a G major triad consists of the notes G, B, and D. Remember, the concept remains the same no matter what your root note is. To construct a major triad, start with your root note. Add a note 4 half steps above it, major third, and another note 7 half steps above the root, perfect fifth. Your task now is to try creating major triads with various root notes on your own. This exercise will not only enhance your understanding of major triads, but also improve your familiarity with the guitar fretboard. Practice it consistently, and soon constructing major triads will become second nature to you. In the practical application of guitar chords, we don't necessarily play the chords in the root, third, fifth order. Instead, we mix them up. For instance, these diagrams illustrate common major triad shapes, their fingerings and intervals. Although our focus is primarily on the theoretical side of music, we're providing some common major triad chord shapes here for reference. It's beneficial to analyze familiar chord shapes from a music theory perspective. In our next lesson, we'll dive deeper into the more intricate chord structures, seventh chords. Stay tuned. Now that we've mastered major triads, let's broaden our understanding with an introduction to seventh chords. A seventh chord, as the name suggests, is a 4-note chord consisting of a root, a third, a fifth, and a seventh. Adding the seventh note to a triad grants the chord greater depth and complexity. This added layer of sound creates a richer tonal color, a trait characteristic of blues music and several other genres. There are 3 common types of seventh chords: major, minor, and dominant. While they all share the basic structure of a triad plus a seventh, they differ in the type of third and seventh used. Before we delve into these types, it's important to know that, similar to major triads, minor and diminished triads also exist. The difference lies in the type of third and fifth used. We'll explore these further in a later lesson, but for now, know that they form the basis of certain seventh chords. A major seventh chord includes a major triad, root, major third, perfect fifth, plus a major seventh. A minor seventh chord includes a minor triad, root, minor third, perfect fifth, plus a minor seventh. A dominant seventh chord, often just called a seventh chord, includes a major triad plus a minor seventh. In this lesson, our emphasis will be on the dominant seventh chord, the most commonly used seventh chord in blues music. However, grasping the distinction between these 3 types of seventh chords can enhance your musical knowledge and versatility. Remember, Understanding these seventh chords will lay a solid foundation for producing the rich, complex sounds that define blues and a host of other music styles. Let's delve deeper into dominant seventh chords, a vital ingredient of the blues sound. A dominant seventh chord, often simply referred to as a seventh chord, combines a major triad with a minor seventh. This fusion of a major and minor character gives the dominant seventh its distinctive sound, often described as bluesy or jazzy. The intervals in a dominant seventh chord are as follows: from the root to the third, a major third interval; from the third to the fifth, a minor third interval; from the fifth to the seventh, a minor third interval. Building a dominant seventh chord from any root note involves these steps. Start with the root note. Add the major third, which is 4 half steps or frets from the root. Add the perfect fifth, which is 7 half steps from the root. Finally, add the minor seventh, which is 10 half steps from the root. For example, if you want to construct a G7 chord, the root is G. The major third is B, 4 half steps from G. The perfect fifth is D, 7 half steps from G. The minor seventh is F, 10 half steps from G. Now it's your turn to practice. Try constructing dominant seventh chords from different root notes. Notice the distinct sound when you play these chords, and how adding the minor seventh changes the feel of the basic major triad. This understanding and application of dominant seventh chords will be crucial as we progress further into blues music. Let's now learn how to find dominant seventh chords on the fretboard and apply some common fingerings for these chords. The fingering for dominant seventh chords can vary depending on where on the fretboard you're playing and which root note you're starting with. However, there are a few common shapes that you can use to make these chords easier to find and play. Here's a basic example using the open E7 chord. The root, E, is played on the open 6th string and the open 1st string. The major third, G sharp, is played on the 1st fret of the 3rd string. The perfect fifth, B, is played on the 2nd fret of the 5th string and the open 2nd string. The minor 7th, D, is played on the open 4th string. This E7 chord shape is movable, which means that you can slide it up and down the fretboard to create different dominant seventh chords. To do this, you'll need to bar the strings with your index finger, allowing you to maintain the shape of the chord while moving it to different positions. Let's try another example, this time with a bar chord shape starting on the 5th string. If you want to play a C7 chord, bar all of the strings at the 3rd fret with your index finger. This is your root note, C. Your pinky finger plays the major third E on the 5th fret of the 2nd string. Your ring finger plays the perfect fifth, G, on the 5th fret of the 4th string. And your index finger plays the perfect fifth, G, on the 3rd fret of the 1st string. Your index finger plays the minor 7th, B flat, on the 3rd fret of the 3rd string. You can slide this chord shape to form a dominant 7th with a different root note as well. As a reference, here are other common dominant 7th chord shapes. Remember, the best way to become familiar with these chord shapes is to practice them. Try to find and play various dominant 7th chords using these shapes. As you get more comfortable, try to form these chords starting from different root notes. This will help you solidify your understanding of how dominant 7th chords are constructed and where to find them on the fretboard. And that wraps up our lesson on major triads and dominant 7th chords. Today, we've unpacked the structure of major triads, which consist of a root, a major third, and a perfect fifth, and we've explored how they form the foundation for many chords in music. We've also delved into the world of dominant 7th chords, a key element in blues music, which are essentially major triads with an added minor 7th. We discussed the intervals between the notes in these chords, demonstrated how to build them from any root note, and learned how to identify and play these chords on the guitar. We hope you now have a deeper understanding of these crucial elements in blues music. The importance of understanding major triads and dominant 7th chords cannot be overstated. They are the building blocks of the blues sound. Remember, practice is key in getting familiar with these chords, so don't hesitate to spend ample time exploring different root notes and playing these chords on your guitar. In our upcoming lesson, we will broaden our musical palette by introducing a variety of other chords. Although our focus remains on major blues, it's essential to have a working knowledge of other chord structures. We will briefly touch upon minor triads, major 7th, minor seventh, diminished triads, half diminished, diminished seventh, and augmented triads. These chords, while not the main focus of our studies, will supplement your understanding and bring a greater depth to your musical journey. So, until then, continue practicing and immersing yourself in the world of blues guitar. Happy playing!